threaten the guy who was heckling him. That's why Merab Dvalishvili is Mexican.
Welcome to Tapping Vegas, brought to you by Better and Green. UFC Noche is here. We are talking 5 fights to get you guys paid out for this awesome card, UFC at the Sphere in Vegas. And to make it even better, guys, we are giving away, if we get this video to 1,000 views, and once again, Bobby, 1,000 views on YouTube, like, that is nothing. We are asking basically nothing. Just get this video to 1,000 views and comment what round you think Merab Dvalishvili wins. And if he wins in that round, and if you think it goes a decision, say Merab by decision, we are giving away a free signed pair of Merab Dvalishvili fight shorts. Let me get that for the camera. Look at that. Signed by Merab himself. We are giving those away to one lucky commenter on this video. Bobby, what other UFC shows are doing that out here?
None that I know of, man. If you smell those bad boys really closely, you can even get the sweat from the Dodson fight in your nostrils.
Guys, I want you to be as profitable, winning money, and we also want to give away some free merch along the way, too. So please make sure you guys subscribe so you guys can be part of everything we have now and in the future. Bobby, let's break down the first fight of the 5 that we have planned with Manuel Torres and Ignacio Bahamondes. Let's break it down, buddy.
Yeah, Torres and Bahamondes. So we're looking at Ignacio Bahamondes, 15-5, 27 years old, 6'3", 75.5-inch reach. Last fight, head kick win over Christos Gallegos. That's great, but Christos Gallegos is 20-12. We already know what he is. He's now on a 2-fight skid being finished. Unfortunately, probably going to be out of the UFC here soon. Before that, Ludovic Klein, he had absolutely nothing to offer. Ludovic Klein got handled pretty decisively. Unanimous decision win for Klein over Bahamondes. He beat Trey Ogden, nothing really crazy. Subbed Rongzhu, wheel kicked Roosevelt Roberts, lost to John Makdessi. Been in the UFC since 2020 when he got a front kick win to get the Contender Series contract, which brought him into the UFC. Manuel Torres, 15-2, 29 years of age, 5'10", 73-inch reach. So he even has a slight reach advantage in this fight. I did not know that. Been on an absolute tear. Got his Contender Series contract October 2021. Made his debut against Frank Camacho. Man, Frank Camacho used to be a dark horse in that division. Made it look easy. Round 1, right hook finish over Frank Camacho. Torres had elbow round 1 against Nicholas Mata. June last year, subbed Chris Duncan round 1 with a rear naked February of this year. Dude just had 3 UFC fights, 3 round 1 finishes, riding a lot of momentum. Mexican fighter at the Noche, Sphere event where they're doing all the Mexican history and everything. They're just really giving this guy a huge setup to really turn up and show out in the Sphere for this card. And I have no reason to disagree, man. And especially when right now it's a very close fight between these two guys. I like it. I like it quite a bit because you're getting Torres at only a -130. Bahamondes is only a slight dog at +110. I think it should be way, way more of a favorite status for Torres in this fight. How do you go into the UFC, your first 3 fights, round 1 finishes? That's something that's very uncommon in this day and age, especially with Contender Series guys who just kind of get tossed into the meat grinder, and unfortunately a lot of them end up falling short. Not Torres. I think Torres gets it done. Bahamondes is tough. I don't necessarily know if it'll be a round 1 finish. This might break Torres's round 1 finishing streak, but I do still think it's a finish. And I'm going to take a quick look at my winning methods here to see what I could get for a potential double, or if I just like the sub I was looking at earlier, because I'm just feeling the Torres train right now. We'll see if it's a hype train, but man, you're really saying and making a statement with 3 first-round finishes. And as much as Bahamondes is always a game guy, always going out there, always fighting his ass off, at some point, you got to get finished, unfortunately. And I think this is the fight where he gets finished, and this is just another opportunity for the UFC to set Torres up really nicely here. So if we go Torres by KO, TKO, or sub, that's a +120. I think I'm going to take that. because I do think it's a finish. It's just I go back and forth between whether he can get it done on the feet, which I think he can, or whether he decides to go for a sub. I think I'm going to go KO TKO double method for Torres, KO TKO and sub at plus 120. What do you think, Ben?
He just made Duncan his little Mexican buddy. I'm gonna say it like that. Much better grappling. He's got a really good ground game. Manuel Torres, I didn't really believe in him in the beginning of his career. I kept thinking, I don't know. After last fight, I'm bought in. The dude looked great. I think he comes in. I think, just like you're saying, Bobby, I think he's going to be able to dominate Bahamondes. Nothing against Ignacio, and he's had a nice little win streak here himself, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, but I just don't see Ignacio being on the same level as Torres. I think Torres gets it done too. I will just take the money line. That way we're safe, since you already took the plus money. So I can get the money line right now at minus 118. So we're getting 2 units if we're both right. So let's just go. I'm gonna go that route. Keep it safe. I love it though. I really like Torres in this fight. We're seeing he is the public side, but there's also about 13% sharp money coming in on Torres. He just looks really good, man. He looks good. It's Noche. It's the Mexican fight card. He's the Mexican fighter. I know people want to think, Bahamondes, he's from Chile. Like, it's not, he's not from Mexico. He is, I don't know what you want to call it, Latinx. But I think Manuel Torres gets this one done. I absolutely agree with you. Let's talk about another Mexican fighter against the South American. We got Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. Daniel Zellhuber, man, 77-inch reach versus Esteban with 69-inch reach, which very nice for you, Esteban, 69-inch reach. Zellhuber, we just saw him just piece up Prado, man. And I called that one too. I said that's just a huge reach advantage. I think it's going to be the exact same in this fight. And I think that Zellhuber, I think he could even get the sub on Esteban. He's a little bit higher of a favorite in this one. He's at minus 230. I don't know exactly which way I want to lean on it. Both of them are young guys that are coming up in the division that both look pretty promising, but I just think that length is going to be too much. Daniel Zellhuber is the Mexican fighter on this Mexican card. I'm going to go with Daniel on this one. Actually, quite a bit of sharp money coming in on Esteban. I don't know what people are seeing. I watched 2 of Esteban's last fights because after watching the McKinney fight, you're like, I know you got the knockout on McKinney, but like, my daughter just turned 1. She might be able to get the knockout on McKinney. I'm sorry, dude. It's terrible, man. I don't see it with Esteban. I just think Daniel Zellhuber pieces him up just like he did Prado. Give me Zellhuber. I'm going to take him on the money line. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, this one's a little bit interesting for me. I had a harder time trying to figure this one out. Kind of flip-flopping back and forth more so than any other fight. Zellhuber, he's been in since 2021, not very long. Lost to Trey Ogden, beat Lando, beat Christos, beat Francisco Prado. My biggest thing is just like I'm not really moved by the guys he's beat so far. Glad he's beat them. It's good. It's a good litmus test. But like as bad as McKinney's been, at least he was able to finish him. He beat Kirk. I mean, he's really young in his UFC career. It's just back and forth with these 2 dudes. I do remember though that I did start following Ribovics off the Contender Series. I did watch that season in 2022 when he got his contract pretty heavily, and he was a guy I was pretty high on. So I'm going to have to check out the odds a little bit deeper on this one because I do like Ribovics' striking. I really think that's pretty top-notch striking that he's able to display. I think it'll be primarily a striking fight. So I'm not really too concerned about grappling with this fight here. It's just so Zellhuber and Ribovics. So I'm thinking because Zellhuber has like a pretty decent sub over somebody by Anaconda choke. So he was able to Anaconda Gallegos, but man, it's like Gallegos is the guy we just got done talking about. He's been finished so much. And that's tough. And if I'm getting Ribovics at a decent money line, plus 190, that's a bit.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to take Ribovics for just money line on this. I know Zellhuber is he's kind of not. He's the one who, out of all these Mexican fighters, is getting the hardest fight. This is definitely not a layup
Mm-hmm.
for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like getting Ribovics money line at plus 190. Looks like 70%. You mentioned 77% of bets on Zellhuber, 23 on Ribovics is what I'm seeing from DraftKings. I'm going to go Ribovics money line. I just think his striking is going to be a lot better. I don't think there's going to be much grappling in this fight. And if it does come to grappling, it's just going to be god awful. So I'm taking Ribovics money line on this. Just because I think he's the dog that has the biggest chance to pull this off compared to everybody else we're going to go over on this card.
Yeah. No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I can't get away from that Zellhuber reach. Let's go to a fight where both guys you'd think are Mexican, but neither of them are. Why don't you take this third fight, Bobby?
So we got Brian Ortega and Diego Lopes here. Diego Lopes, Brazilian. Brian Ortega is a Mexican-American. I forget what that meme's from, but yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Diego Lopes, Brian Ortega. This is the one I've struggled with the most because I like Ortega. I've been a big fan of Ortega since he's been in the UFC. What he's been able to accomplish is just absolutely insane. He's only ever lost to the most elite level guys of the sport. But since it's been so long since these two were first initially scheduled to fight each other and Ortega had to withdraw and Lopes ended up beating Ige pretty decisively on short notice, that's kind of what's led me to potentially change my decision here because they're both world-class grapplers. Ortega is a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt. His striking's greatly improved, but it's still not his bread and butter. It's serviceable. His boxing's a lot crisper than it was in his debut. The fight that he had against Korean Zombie showcased his improved striking after his long layoff at the vicious beating he sustained against Max Holloway. But what's starting to give me some pause with Ortega is he's starting to display those signs, even though it's not like he's been around for, a worryingly long amount of time. He has still been around longer than you think. 33 is not very old, but I mean, he's had 20 professional MMA fights, 16 wins, only 3 losses. Lost a year. TKO shoulder injury. His shoulder popped out of socket, so they called it. So not really a loss, but I mean, you get the idea. Mm-hmm. Getting beat up by Volkanovski, even though he did have moments where he had a really deep mounted guillotine, I believe it was, on Volkanovski and almost won. Still ended up losing. And then obviously no shame in a doctor stoppage loss to Max Holloway. Other than that, handily beat Korean Zombie, unfortunately. Big Zombie fan, was sad to see that, but just dismantled him. One-punch KO of Frankie Edgar, uppercut lifted him off his feet. Sub over Cub Swanson, subbed Money Moricano, KO'd Clay Guida, subbed Diego Brandao, TKO Thiago Tavares, yep. Beat Mike Delatorre with a rear naked, but it was overturned because he popped hot for anabolics. And then, he was on the regional scene. So he's beat a lot of good quality competition. It's just he's had injuries. He's had long periods of inactivity. Don't get me wrong. I was glad to see him take as much time off as he did after the Holloway fight because he did take a life-altering damage, I feel like. So it was good for him to heal up, learn some new tactics and techniques. Just improve his striking, as I mentioned, improve, his grappling even further, all that. But what's starting to concern me is even though he's only 33 and he's only had 20 professional MMA fights, he's starting to show those worrying levels of increased injuries. Like he managed to win the Rodriguez rematch by arm triangle choking Rodriguez, but it was kind of like he was losing before that Hail Mary sub type of thing because right before that match started in the octagon, he rolled his ankle so bad, I think he tore some ligaments or something. So he's, had to deal with that. The other undisclosed or at least injury, I don't remember what it was that forced him to withdraw from this first scheduling of the Lopes fight. Those are things that are starting to kind of concern me. It's kind of like football players who are really good, but once they start to get nagging injuries, it's kind of like some guys can get away with it. They can overcome it, and they can go on to be great, like when Adrian Peterson tore his knee to shreds but came back and still finished as like one of the great RBs or whatever in fantasy that year. I'm no longer sure if that's going to be Ortega though, especially with how I feel like if Lopes isn't necessarily better than him grappling, he's at least equal and at least able to stave off the sub attempts and be defensively sound, the most defensively sound grappler and on his equal level grappler Ortega has ever faced. And as far as the striking, I would definitely give that advantage to Lopes. So even though it's a tough fight, and at first I picked Ortega when they were first scheduled to fight, it just kills me because you're just not getting it at good odds. I was hoping, people would kind of pour some money on Ortega and kind of make it a little bit
Yeah.
closer or something for that name value. Doesn't really seem like we're getting that. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to say Diego Lopes. He's currently minus 192, Ortega plus 160. But I just like Lopes. Lopes is a younger guy, doesn't have the injury concerns, isn't as beat up. Like I said, he's, if not better than Ortega grappling, he's at least equal to. The striking's definitely way better for Lopes. So if it's on the feet, Lopes definitely, in my eyes, has an advantage in that regard. So looking at my methods here, Lopes by KO, TKO, or sub plus 165. I think I'm going with that again because even though it's a 15-minute fight, I think it's going to be a high octane, fast paced 15-minute fight. I think if there's grappling, it's not going to be like Sean Brady and Burns. I think there's going to be a lot of scrambling, a lot of takedowns, a lot of reversals, a lot of sweeps. Looking for subs, hunting for sub attempts. If it's striking, it's going to be pretty much like a bang bang bang, shoot a takedown, like just high paced. Should be pretty much the most action-packed fight probably on this card in terms of just nonstop 15 minutes. So, yeah, that's always possible if it goes to decision. And if it does go to decision, I still lean Lopes there. It's just I'm trying to offset the money line a little bit, and I'm just that confident in Lopes with, the injuries and everything that's been going on with Brian Ortega that he can get caught in something or maybe club and sub is another way I see this playing out. He gets rocked, shoots his own takedown, Lopes sweeps or reverses or whatever, catches him in a guillotine, something like that. So, yeah, Lopes KO, TKO or sub plus 165 is how I'm rolling. What do you think, Ben?
I love it. I love that breakdown. I hate what you said. Also, I wish that there was more money pulling in on Ortega just from Vegas side, a liability side, and then from us getting better odds. I had COVID like not this week, but this past week, so I've had a lot of time to watch a lot of these press conferences and stuff, and I really didn't like what I was hearing out of Ortega. Like, it sounded like he was really happy that in the fight that he wasn't able to come into and Dan Ige came in, like, because he lived down the street, just fought Diego Lopes. Like, Dan Ige is a fucking man, dude. But Ortega, he said, like, he wasn't feeling good, but he also kind of admitted, he's just like at the beginning of my career, my head wasn't in it, and then, like, I got really focused, and he's like, I felt like in that fight, like, my head wasn't in it anymore again, and just, like, he didn't feel right, and that's just, I mean, the dude's at the end of his career, and I feel like maybe he shouldn't, like, he should have just retired after that Yair fight. Like, that is really concerning to hear. Going to Diego Lopes, I wouldn't be surprised if Ortega hangs it up after this one, because it's like, okay, you were kind of a knucklehead when you're younger, and then you turn around, like, everybody gets that. But, like, to start losing your edge again, after, like, all the highs and lows you've already had in your career, and then you're 2-3 in your last 5 fights, to be losing that competitive edge. Diego Lopes, he always stays ready. He's been an active fighter. He's so much younger. He's so driven still for that division. I think his mindset and Ortega's mindset at this point in their careers are just on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And tell me if I'm way off here, Bobby, but I just feel like mindset-wise, Lopes is ready to come in and win. And Ortega, I'm glad he's mentally in a spot now where he feels like he can go in and fight, but I honestly don't think I want any part of Ortega going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's always rough when you've had in your very short career. Like I said, we just talked about it. He's only had 20 MMA matches, point blank period. UFC matches. Yeah, he's been around since 2014, but he's only had 7 fights in the UFC after 7 fights. A lot of people said it was a little bit dubious of his first title shot against Max Holloway, and they were like, "Oh, fraud check," before fraud check even existed in 2018. That wasn't a thing, but like the concept was. They had to take time off, and then he definitely got a very questionable second shot at the title after the TKZ victory against Volkanovski. And it's like, that was so 7 fights until his first shot, extended 2-year layoff. December 8th of 2018 was when he lost to Holloway. All that time off, October 18th, 2020, he beat Zombie. And then after that, September 25th of 2021, after another extended layoff with your only win in like 3 fucking years almost being Korean Zombie, and you get another title shot, that really set a lot of people off. And 9 fights into your UFC career at 30 something years old, very young age, very young tenure in the UFC, and you've already lost a second title shot. That can definitely be demoralizing, especially even though the belt's now changed hands and now the belt is with Taporia. You could always tell yourself, well, at least it's not the guy who beat me last time, like there's a fresh guy to give me a fresh opportunity. But when you're already feeling that way, like you were speaking about mentally, when you've already had injuries, when you're already, pulled out of this fight the first time with an injury, it can seem daunting just to even get back to that spot. And with the inactivity he still had since then, because after losing to Volkanovski, he fought Yair, got injured again. And then that was 2022, the first time he fought Yair. Another 2 years off, came back February this year and beat Yair. It's like just the extended time off has just robbed him of the prime of his career. And that's definitely another thing that's not positive for your mental set, is losing so much of the prime of your career to just nonstop injuries. And like I said, you see it in football all the time where guys lose their prime to injury and then they never come back.
Yeah. It's sad. I agree with you 100%, man. Also, I just think I'm going to go with money line here for my official pick. I kind of thought about going just the decision. That way, like, we for sure make money, because either I get the 2.2 units or you get the 1.65. So we're still making money. But I would rather play it safe, and then, if we're both right, we just get even more money. So I think I'm going to go that route.
I love it. I love the strategic betting.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. As long as Ortega doesn't win.
All right.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. This is another rematch. We got Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. This is the third fight in a row, I believe, between these two ladies. Alexa Grasso won the first one, and then there was a controversial draw the second time. A lot of people thought Shevchenko won. Bobby, I watched the fight. I still don't know what to do here. And I think a lot of people don't know what to do here. This line is pretty close. Money, pretty close. 56% of the bets are on Grasso, 57% of the money. So you're not seeing much sharp movement either way. Not a huge Vegas lean either way. I want to take Grasso just because she's younger, and I think her grappling is better. And, like, the parts where she got Shevchenko down, I felt like she was able to control the fight from there. But then Shevchenko had quite a bit of success on the feet. I'm not 100% sure which way to go on this fight. So I think before I pick, I would like to hear what you think about this fight.
I'm not really a Shevchenko guy. She's 36. She's been around for a very long time, and talk about people who should retire, talk about people who are at the end of their careers. I feel like it's her. I've always kind of felt like she was just one of those very overrated fighters in a honestly mediocre or aggressively average women's division. That's pretty much, unfortunately, the state of women's MMA outside of strawweight. It's just kind of mediocre divisions staffed by really dominant champions who are very one-dimensional or, have knockout power or whatever, just insane advantage over women who just aren't really full-time for this, or this is like their day job and they moonlight as, librarians or whatever. Like, I don't even know. It's just not like one of the marquee women's divisions in MMA. And Shevchenko's a legend. She's probably going to be a future Hall of Famer. All the things that I shouldn't have to say, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, Grasso has the age advantage, 31 to 36. She doesn't have the wear and tear and the mileage that Shevchenko does. Pretty dominant in her first fight, choking out Valentina Shevchenko. I get the second fight was very close and very controversial, but I mean, she's kind of being set up in this fight for success. I feel like with the most beatable, best high name that she can get, she has it. And it's not like she's not Jessica I, who is a fighter that even on Tapology, that is her Tapology photo for Valentina Shevchenko, that head kick over Jessica I that we watched at my bachelor party, and it's like, okay, that's great. And before she lost to Grasso, she was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fight unbeaten streak, but that's how it happens. You're like, oh my God, who's going to beat this person? They're on a 9 fight unbeaten streak going back to 2018. And then when they fought March last year, it snaps. And then it's a controversial split decision, and she can't even eke that out. And then in this fight, she loses. And then it's like, now where do you go? You're 36 years old. You've accomplished everything that there is to accomplish in the sport in your division. You'll be 23-5 if you lose with 1 no contest. And where do you go? Because now you've fought the champ, because this is for the belt. You fought the champ 3 times. You've now lost twice, drew once. It's going to be a very long time before you get the belt back. At 36 years old with how many fights has she? Yeah, 23-4-1 with a long record like that. She's been competing professionally since 2003, and
That's
different
forever.
sports. She did Muay Thai before this. She's been competing in Muay Thai since 2003 also. So between Muay Thai and MMA, we're talking 50-something matches, if not more. This is just a ballpark estimate because I'm not about to go through here and count every single thing. But hell, now that I'm looking at it on Tapology, she might have just had 50 Muay Thai fights by themselves. So you got Muay Thai wear and tear, MMA wear and tear, all this dating back to at least 2003. This is just what I can see on Tapology. And like I said, what is going to be your motivation if you do lose? Yes, it's a huge motivation to win, but if you don't, you retire. And I feel like it's more likely that you lose and you retire than it is that you win. And then even if you win, you have to ask yourself, okay, now how much longer am I going to want to be faced with up and coming contenders? Because, the division, even though it's one of the worst divisions, it's starting to get some girls rising up through the ranks who could potentially be a threat to her. And now you have to face the slog of, the Conor McGregor dilemma. It's kind of hard to wake up and do road work when you're in silk pajamas, when you've already accomplished all this. Even if you win, how much longer do you want to stick around and face these young, hungry contenders coming up who all they want to do is take your head off and get your belt?
Right.
Do you have the motivation to keep doing that? I don't think she's going to have the motivation to do either one. The fact that she's already lost in round 4 by getting finished is going to really play with her head. The fact that she couldn't get it done and it was a draw is going to play with her. And I just think it's all going to catch up, and especially when you can get it as close as it is right now. I think people are just betting on that name, especially when the Jessica I KO from 2019 was kind of like, okay, now even casuals are paying attention to her type thing. I think that's probably why we're seeing it as close as we are, and I'm taking full advantage of that because right now Shevchenko is only a plus 114, so that's not even tantalizing enough of an underdog to get me pulled in. Grasso's minus 135 money line. I just can't see a way where I think Shevchenko wins that doesn't involve just me riding off the past laurels, her past victories and her past history, which I just don't think is going to help her right now. And so I'm in on Alexa Grasso. She's a younger fighter, the fresher fighter. She's more hungry. She's more determined. She's going to get it done. This is once again a card that was put together for her to be kind of like that headliner. I know it's not the main event, but it's going to be the main event, like the people's main event for a lot of people, especially for all the Valentino Shevchenko stands out there. And, oh, don't talk about my waifu. I can't wait to see the hate mail and comments that I'm going to be getting on social media for this. But, yeah, I just can't pass up Grasso with these numbers. So Grasso, let's see. Grasso by – what are we getting here for her? Because Grasso by KO, TKO plus 800. Grasso by sub plus 4. Even if you go to decision, plus 175. So Grasso by KO, TKO, or sub. Grasso by KO, TKO, or sub at plus 275 is looking tantalizing. Gosh damn, am I just going to keep going back to this well house?
That's women's MMA, man. You're picking a finish.
I know, right?
Be careful.
I know. What about just outright subs only plus 175? It's a 5-round fight.
Right.
I feel like since it happened in the first one, it could happen again, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just ride money line. Maybe you can influence me on the method if you decide to go with Grasso. Who knows? But I don't know. For now, I'm just going to say money line. Money line. What do you think?
I'm on the same side. I'm on Grasso. I'd rather do money line and just say, I could see this going any direction. I really think it's probably either going to be a sub or decision. But, maybe she catches Shevchenko. Who knows? I heard that in, some of the interviews with Shevchenko, she seems pretty high for this fight. Like, a lot of emotion going into it, which we've seen is, no matter the sport, if you go into an event just way up here, that's usually a really good case to get humbled, or you have all these emotions, you go and you do something stupid. So I try to watch the interviews. Harrison Bucker came over the other day. He told me to turn that shit off. I'm with Alexa Grasso too, man. I just think she's younger, and at this stage I think she's more talented. And also, you said it, she's the Mexican fighting headliner. So
right.
They got her on this card. They want Grasso to win. Grasso, I think, wins.
Right. Like I said, it's the people's main event, and they gave her the biggest name they could with the most accolades and everything to really make it special when she does win, to make it that feel-good story. So the only thing Shevchenko can hope to do is play spoiler.
Exactly. All right, I hope you're ready for some autistic screaming, because me and Bobby are about to break down this main card, and I think after talking all week, I still think we might be on opposite sides here and pretty passionate about our sides. So Bobby, take away the main fight, dude, and expect to be interrupted.
Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. 420 blaze it. All right, so Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Sean O'Malley, 420 dude weed, bro. Timbo and Sugar, what's up? What's up, dude? And then Merab Dvalishvili, brother.
The true Mexican.
Brother. Yeah. So you're asking yourself, why is a Georgian man and an Irish-American leprechaun with rainbow hair headlining a card entitled UFC Noche, Hispanic, Mexican-American type thing, but Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? Well, just ask Mr. Pitbull about being Mr. International. That's what we got here, baby. Mr. International, Mr. Worldwide. Merab Dvalishvili is actually more Mexican than you think.
Oh, God.
Here's why he's headlining this card. Because at the Craig Jones Invitational, he proceeded to leap up into the stands, grab a dude by his hair like a cartel sawing off head video, and threaten the guy who was heckling him. That's why Merab Dvalishvili is Mexican. Sean O'Malley, I don't know. I guess they're saying Mexican because he's been in a Mexican. His wife is Mexican. His child's half Mexican. I guess that's the connection. Yeah, this is a tough one because this is another one between the Lopes-Ortega fight and this one. This is the one that I could totally see either outcome playing out and not being shocked at all. My biggest thing with Sean O'Malley is this. It's like I was telling Ben earlier. When Alex Pereira eventually faces a grappler, whether that's Magomed Ankalaev or somebody else, and he gets subbed, I'm going to be very concerned. But if he just randomly gets knocked out against Khalil Roundtree, I will not be as concerned. Here's why. Anybody can get caught. Anybody can get knocked out. Yes, there's timing, there's precision, there's things that can make it a planned knockout. I don't even think the vast majority of knockouts are flukes. I think they are game planned and things of that nature. But I just wouldn't be surprised if he was to get knocked out because it's just one of those things that can just happen. But if he was to face a grappler and get subbed, that's very concerning. Same with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, except for Aljamain Sterling, has never really faced a grappler, especially a grappler like Merab with the style Merab has, because even from Merab to Aljo, there are vast differences in their grappling styles. And where Aljo made his biggest mistake was being way too eager to engage in striking exchanges with Sean O'Malley and lead into said exchanges face first with his hands down and crossing his feet. Merab is just relentless. Merab, I'm not saying he is like Khabib. I'm just saying he does Khabib tactics and techniques in that he'll throw. I've watched in numerous Merab fights, like the Dodson fight, the Aldo fight, the Ricky Simone fight. He'll throw like a crazy wheel kick that has no intention of landing just to get you to either A, back up to the cage where he can shoot against you, or to just get his distance to where you feel like, okay, wow, this big spin attack didn't land. After he, his foot comes back down, I'm going to push in on him. And because you're coming to him, then he shoots the takedown that way. Either way, he wins. Either he's backing you up because you're scared of that thing that has no intention of landing just to get his distance and just get you intimidated, or you wait for it to be done and then you come in, so you're coming to him. Either way, he's profiting from it. And Khabib would do the same thing when he would throw wild, sloppy jumping knees. He advances himself into your position. You're already backed up against the cage. Easy takedown. That's the same way Merab works. He throws strikes that have no intention of landing to set up the grappling. Once he goes for grappling, he's relentless like Khabib. It doesn't matter how many takedowns you defend. All he needs is 3, 4, whatever. When he fought Peter Yan, doesn't matter that he shot like 52 takedowns and only like 40 something or whatever landed. That's all he needed to win the fight and to dominate, is just for those few amount of takedowns to do what they're intended to do. And nobody can resist that many takedown attempts. He just has insane pace, insane output. Aljo was way too careless. Aljo, it's been a while since I've watched that fight, but he just had no sense of urgency to try to grapple, to try to initiate his best avenue to win. And you saw that he got caught for it, and it was a perfect counter shot that Sean lined up perfectly. It wasn't a fluke. It was well timed, well executed, and well game planned. I don't know that he's going to be able to connect that cleanly on Merab, because Merab is just so relentless and so in your face. You're not going to have the time, even though he does have the reach advantage and the height advantage, to be able to set that up, because he's already on you. He's already on you. And I know Sean has good reflexes and everything, but it's just insane. It's just insane how relentless Merab is, even when he doesn't get the takedown. And that's what he has to be for this 5-round fight, is just relentless. And the only other time before the Aljo fight where we saw somewhat of a little bit of grappling from Sean O'Malley was against Peter Yan, but Peter Yan is not a traditional grappler. He's okay, I'll foot sweep you and take you down, do some tie sweeps, that type of thing. And there were things that Sean O'Malley did really well in that fight, to be able to get off of his back and to get back to the feet and to be able to reverse and everything on Peter Yan. But the problem is he was in that position in the first place. And like I said, if you get put in that position against Merab, you're not back up until the round's over or until he lets you up. And that's just the biggest concerning thing for me, is just because there is just such a small sample size of seeing Sean O'Malley go up against grapplers. The only time we saw it, there's not much to go off of, because he perfectly executed his game plan and Aljo perfectly fumbled his game plan. So there wasn't really much to see from the Peter Yan fight. There was a little bit to see, but not enough, because the grappling styles from Yan to Merab are just so radically different. It's just the biggest X factor in this fight. And I was really happy, though, to see, because I was going to be concerned that since O'Malley's the name, the money would start pouring in on him as the name, because besides Connor, besides John Jones, I'm trying to think of who else is like a big name right now. Shevchenko probably is. Pereira's getting up there. Pereira's getting up there is a pretty big name. Like, ever since Conor and Ronda Rousey left, Sean O'Malley is like a huge casuals guy. Like we had so many people coming up to us at the Fantasy Football Expo talking about putting money on Sean O'Malley, and Sean O'Malley's feeding families. And it's like, dude, Sean O'Malley hasn't been a dog since like his UFC debut. What are you talking about? How are you getting these great KO TKO odds for the most common method of victory on Sean O'Malley? Show me your books because I want in on it. I'm just finding this hard to believe. And I think this is one where we're going to, or at least I am going to feast on Merab being a plus 114 and O'Malley being a minus 135, because this is a classic striker versus grappler matchup. You don't see it very often in the UFC anymore since the meta's changed so much and the sport's changed and everything. But it is classic striker versus grappler. And I don't know what the hard and fast, objective, real statistics and numbers on it would be. But just from my personal opinion and thinking of all the historical examples, Khabib versus Conor, Bo Nickel versus everybody Bo's ever fought, Daniel Cormier versus the vast majority of people he's fought. When you think of like top-notch grapplers, Merab's going to be up there, I feel like. Not to that level, once again, before you start hate commenting, not saying he's Daniel Cormier, not saying he's, Daniel Cormier or Khabib or whatever, just saying if his career continues the trajectory I think it's on, he might be up there by the end of his career. And the grappler's won. The grappler has just dominated the striker. The striker's not been able to get up, and we just don't know too much about O'Malley's grappling. We know that last I checked, he's at least a purple belt in BJJ. Don't think he has very much wrestling. Don't think he wrestled in high school or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure he's been training wrestling nonstop for this fight. But look at what Merab did to Henry Cejudo, an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. And I know everybody's like, oh, well, Henry was shot when they fought. Henry was washed. Henry was old, blah, 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 blah. Those things may be true, but your reflexes and your speed and all that are the first things to go. But you don't just lose that knowledge unless you have like a really traumatic, insane brain injury. And don't say somebody calls that to him. I'm talking about Alzheimer's, late 60s, actually not even late 60s, like your late 80s, early 90s levels of, Alzheimer's. You don't lose your knowledge of how to defend a single leg. You don't just lose your knowledge of defending a double, how to get back to your feet, how to pummel, how to do X, Y, Z when you're an Olympic gold medalist. That just doesn't go away overnight that fast. And though the speed and strength and all that might not have been there, when he was down and Merab had no trouble getting him down, he looked lost. And to make an Olympic gold medalist look lost, because even though Merab is so great of a grappler, what I love about him is he doesn't have those accolades. He's not some crazy Olympic gold medalist or whatever. He's not like some insane D1 college wrestler guy. He's just, I'm going to double check in case there's something crazy on his Wikipedia I haven't heard about, but he's just a guy who immigrated to America, decided to he's like combat sambo. Okay, so he is a combat sambo world champion, silver medalist from 2019. So that is a pretty huge accolade, don't get me wrong. He does do a lot of sambo championships. He just had one in Texas not that long ago just for funsies where he placed first place and all that. So he does have that. But once again, that's still a far cry from an Olympic gold medalist, and he just made him look just pitiful, man. And I'm trying not to do MMA math, but Sean O'Malley, last I checked, isn't some wrestling wrestling gold medalist. He, like I said, not a D1 wrestling guy. He has been wrestling since he started MMA, but he's playing catch up at this point. And even though I think he's a great athlete and an amazing fighter and a legend in his own right, even in his young career and everything, I don't see how I pass up on Merab where I'm getting him at with the odds I'm getting him at. And it's going to make a lot of people pissed because, like I said, Sean O'Malley, since Conor and Ronda and all those people have left, he's one of the biggest names amongst just casual UFC viewers right now, hands down, kind of a face of the UFC. It's going to piss a lot of people off when the boring grappler, wrestlefucker, who barely even speaks English from Georgia, immigrant guy training out of Serra Longo BJJ MMA beats, the trash talking prolific knockout artist, and in finger quotes, ushers in a new reign of boring ass champion. God, the UFC sucks. I can already hear it now. So it's tough. I could easily also see the exact same thing that happened to Aljamain Sterling happen to Merab. I could very easily see a round 2 or round 3. He gets careless, leads face first into a takedown attempt, gets kneed up the middle, Jorge Masvidal Ben Askren style. Gets countered just like Aljo did with a punch, face first, knocked out cold, or finished by hammer fist. I could see either way, but my official prediction, I just can't pass up Merab, especially just even on the money line, and I might be revisiting this for my haymaker. So what do you have to say, Ben?
I'm so glad you're done talking, Bobby, because you say he's catching up to wrestling. He's about to mayo on Merab's face when I be talking condiments. Bro, you gotta rewatch that fight with Cejudo. Cejudo rocked Merab, bro. He almost dropped him with a punch. I'm like, fuck. What is Sean O'Malley going to do to this man? Merab is he's a crazy crackhead wrestler, man, the EPO man, but he's got that staph infection, man. He's on those antibiotics. He's going to be coming out, get that Dustin Poirier treatment, man, from Sean O'Malley. I'm worried, man. This man's diving headfirst in the ice. I don't know what Merab's doing, man. He just goes out there crazy style. He's just, what do you call it? He's just doing it silly style out there, man. Yeah. Sean O'Malley has those nice, well-timed shots. I don't think he'll be held down. We saw him be able to counter Jan and be able to get to his punches. Merab, in all of his pressers, he's talking in ifs. He's saying, if I beat Sean O'Malley, then I guess I'll fight Umar. And talking down on Umar because he doesn't have the confidence in himself, man. He's got to put Umar down so he can feel confident in himself. Whereas Sean O'Malley, he's talking like, yeah, I'll fight Umar. I'll fight, what's his name? Ilya Taporia, Max Holloway. He'll fight anybody. He's talking in wins, man. Merab doesn't believe it. I think Sean believes it. They don't want this to just be a wrestle crotch sniffing fight to end the sphere. They want this to be an exciting ending. I'm telling you, man, Sean O'Malley, he's gonna knock out Merab. I'll take the knockout. Let's see what that's at. Sean O'Malley knockout at plus 150. Gets it done. He's saying in the second. Let's see it. Let's see the knockout in the second.
Knockout in the second?
Knockout in the second.
You want the odds on that?
No, I'm just saying. I'll just take knockout at plus 150. I'm not gonna be crazy, but that's what O'Malley's saying. And it begs the question: if you are what you say you are, a superstar. And have no fear, man. Have no fear. Let's go. Knocking out Merab. If you're on the Merab side and you think that we're going to be giving these fighter shorts away, and they need to comment what round do you think Merab wins? Give the people some of your advice.
My advice is my haymaker is going to be Merab Dvalishvili by sub at plus 2,000.
Okay.
Tell the people what we hit on in just the past few weeks. Tell the people right quick.
We got the plus 600 for the DDP sub, and then we got the plus 450 Mearshart sub.
Yeah, and Mearshart was already like a plus 2 something on the money line alone.
Yeah. So
money line plus the sub on that man, which we took both. Woo doggy. That was like plus 7 something. So yeah, I'm going Dvalishvili sub plus 2,000 for my haymaker, and if we hit that, I might retire. Thanks for the cheese. Catch you later at that point. Dvalishvili sub at plus 2,000, and then as far as the round, Sean's a tough old bird like that old lady who died in Home Alone. I'll give him round 4. I think he puts up a valiant effort. Merab Dvalishvili's EPO, that Georgian twisted steel and sex appeal just is too much for him, and he wilts under the pressure in round 4 and gets choked out and taps like chicken. Because the last thing I'm going to say is, what do I always tell you about Daddy Gaethje? What does Daddy Gaethje say?
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't make me edit this more than I have to.
I'm just saying, think about what can happen if one man can hold you down. That's all I'll say. Daddy Gaethje reads a bedtime story. It always starts with one man holding you down.
If Dana White reads it, it's John Jones goes into a room with another man. John Jones comes out.
All right. Comes out with a little something on his lips.
Daddy, read me a bedtime story. All right, John Jones is the best pound-for-pound fighter of all time. Go to bed. All right, this is one of the best UFC shows, UFC betting shows out there, and we want to just continue to expand, but we can't do that without you guys, so please make sure you guys subscribe. Send this to your friends. Let them know about Tapping Vegas. The more support we get, the more that we can do. And again, win these are some badass fight shorts, dude. These are awesome, man. I hate to give them away. I got them for me, and then I was just like, you know what? Let's share the wealth. So let's get this video to 1,000 views. Tell your friends about us. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace, guys.
Peace.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.